Good afternoon, everybody. It's an outside broadcast today. I'm actually sat at a table with the guys from AlphaPicks. It's all very, very exciting. Which one of you two's joining?
Probably both.
Go on, someone join.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. Now, invite the co-host. Sorry if you can hear some building work in the background. I can't stop that, unfortunately. Right. Are you joining via?
Why don't you join on the AP account?
Hang on. You got mute yours. Have you muted yours?
Yeah. Muted.
Right, perfect. Right, Alan, let me just do the legals while you try and work that out. Nothing discussed on this space session constitutes trading or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PiQ Global Limited, trading is PiQ or PiQ Suite, or indeed the host, which is obviously the wonderful AlphaPicks lads. And we are trying to, you would have thought now we're like sitting at the same table that this would be easier than normal, but it seems to be a lot more complicated. Right, here you go. Right, AlphaPicks, invite co-host. Right. We're going to assume, if I put my phone there, that everyone can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah? Right. If anyone can't hear me, or us, then apologies, but, it's a work in progress. It's nearly Christmas. Right. Who's going to start?
Jay, do you want to kick us off?
Do you want to start with the FT that you were saying?
Yes, absolutely. So I read an article on Tuesday from the FT, and it was essentially talking about how the US market is slightly frothy relative to other markets. And the stat I wanted to throw out there was...
Oh my God, he actually does do notes.
I do notes. I can't keep this all in my head.
I'm looking behind the curtain for the first time ever.
Exactly. So in terms of overseas investment, compared to 30% of capital globally for private investments in the US, which was back in the 1980s, now US capital flow accounts for 70% of private investments in stocks. Now, the contrast is that the global economy, the share of the US that it has in global trade, is 27%. So essentially, you have a 27% US share of the global economy, and yet 70% of capital globally is heading into US stocks. So the disproportionate amount of capital that's heading to the US.
I guess that kind of is very obviously now why US is massively outperforming. US stocks massively outperforming everything else
Because money's going there.
Is it TINA? There is no alternative. Is that the TINA? I think that's what TINA stands for.
Is it?
Did you not know that?
There is no alternative. No, I didn't know that. Yeah.
There is no alternative.
Okay, good one. Acronyms on a Friday. Yeah. And the other one that led on to this, which is talking point for 2025, so the S&P 500's forward price to earnings multiple is now 23 times. Oof. And obviously, as a traditional UK investor, I'm used to like 10 times PE as a sort of benchmark for fair value. For 23 times, I'm guessing this
will be skewed by the tech stocks, I guess, right?
I'd have thought so. Yeah.
Unbelievable multiples.
So I'm also talking of earnings multiples. SpaceX earlier this week announced, rumored to have a new funding round, which is going to value it $350 billion. Which the only one we should do an over/under actually on this, couldn't we? Yeah. I've only got one though. Is Costco, which is a bit of a niche comparison.
Yeah. I'm not really sure that's the greatest comparison, but go on. We'll run with it for lack of nothing else.
So SpaceX at 350 billion, is that higher or lower than Costco's current market cap?
Surely higher. 350 billion.
It's got to be higher.
Yeah.
So what are you saying?
You're saying no? I'm sorry. I've got to go lower, haven't I?
As in what? SpaceX lower than Costco?
Yes.
And I'll go SpaceX higher.
SpaceX 350 billion is 8.5 billion more than Costco's current market cap.
Costco lower.
Yeah.
That's right. So not obviously there's nothing said here as trading advice. Obviously, my advice is normally don't trade. But I do like Costco, especially now they're starting to move into China and stuff, because I think there's so much market they can pick up.
Yeah. And a fairly defensive stock if you arguably want to position against out of Mag 7 and, as a potential more...
Yeah, when money's tight, you're going to go to the budget retailers, right?
Yeah. And the last one on that SpaceX one was, if that 350 billion valuation is correct, that would have doubled SpaceX worth from just 1 year ago. Oof. So you can put a bit of that on the Musk effect, and the election. You put a bit of it down to their successful flight.
I was going to say the spaceship, whatever it's called, the big one. That's been successful.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
catching it with chopsticks and stuff. It's got to be adding a few percentage points to the price.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see, looking at SpaceX in comparison to other space companies, and seeing how much more their valuation is.
Well, Virgin Galactic was probably the danger sign, wasn't it?
But this is it, right? This is it. There's like, in terms of private space companies, there's no one to compare it to.
It's a bit of a niche market.
They're
It's
literally,
not.
they're so far out in front. It's mad.
Well, and also from the public versus the private markets as well.
Yeah, sorry,
There's no real public.
Yeah, when you've got NASA relying on that, or Boeing relying on SpaceX to bring astronauts back as well. It's
Yeah.
like, so, I know people love to like beat on Musk. I nearly said beat off Musk then. Oh, Jesus Christ. Family show. But you got to doff your hat. Physically did just doff my hat then. I don't know why I did that. No one can see it.
And then heading into Wednesday, we can't not talk about Bitcoin for I think the third week in a row.
Is that all?
There's no crypto experts over here. Broke through the mythical $100,000 mark on the news that Paul Atkins was going to be the new SEC chair, who is basically pro crypto.
Yeah.
Interesting though, because obviously it did scale through 100 to like 103, I think it was 104. And obviously you've got a bit of that slight short squeeze. It pops through 100. Everyone's trying to cover off their positions on the other side. But the argument is now it's through 100. Does this keep the Bitcoin dominance going and we see this trade higher? Or do we feel that it's still a case of it's taken 100, the big level, it'll roll over, and obviously then enthusiasm might fade?
Well, this is it. I would not like to have a guess where crypto is later on today, let alone in the next week. But I don't know. I can't hate on Bitcoin. I do have one Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I was given for my 30th birthday when it was trading $100.
I was going to say that was a long time ago.
Fuck you, man.
You kept that quiet. You got a Bitcoin.
I've got a Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's actually a solid silver Bitcoin with a hologram on the back. That if I tear the hologram, I can then get whatever the long code is. I'm not allowed to have it myself. The guy that gave it to me, who his average long is $5.
Yeah.
He still owns some Bitcoin. He gave it to me for my birthday, then took it off me and put it in a safe. So I don't even know where it is, but apparently I still own it. I don't know. I'll probably find out he sold it at 35. I don't know. We'll see.
It's those it's the seed phrases for me. You get like the 15
God,
words.
I can't remember my name.
How can you? I mean, who knows what? And they're all like obscure, uncorrelated words as well. So anyway, so good news for crypto on that front.
Yeah, with Trump coming in, big change in the regulation side. Who he's bringing in, or the lack thereof. So it will be interesting to see if markets next year do continue to be very euphoric and like the tech trade continues. Bitcoin's going to continue with potentially those extra catalysts of a lot of deregulation in the new administration.
Yeah.
So it could outperform again tech if we stay in a euphoric state.
Yeah. And I think the other interesting is particularly with the derivative markets opening up, obviously very recently on some of the ETFs, because I think a lot of these guys, particularly institutional guys that are now up on their ETF holdings, can very easily look to buy protection and pick up puts on the downside, or even if they're happy with where they are, you could start to see some of them selling calls, picking up the premiums, and obviously then if it does go through that level, they're out, but they're out at a nice profit as well. So
kind of related, unrelated, but is related. So last week we were hitting on Saylor for his 0% coupons to buy bitcoins. Someone I was talking to during the week, this week, made an interesting observation. Originally, when we were doing this, or Saylor was doing this, it gave people that couldn't get access to Bitcoin a way to get long Bitcoin, right? But now, increasingly so, it's very possible. It's increasingly easy, to get long under regulatory approval. It's easy to get long Bitcoin now if you're a treasury or something like that for a big corporation. So, doesn't that take the shine off MicroStrategy?
I think that will be one of the big things that reduces their premium, which is at 2.4x.
Yeah, exactly that. Because
if suddenly Bitcoin becomes more available outright, or other companies take the same approach as Saylor, Why pay 2.4x on MicroStrategy
Exactly
if you
that.
can get 1.5x on another
Exactly
company,
that.
or just
I,
Bitcoin itself?
yeah, I think the trade is basically you want to short the spread. You want to short MicroStrategy long Bitcoin because it should come in, right?
It's true. The only thing I'd say on that is that how many people are going to reverse engineer that out and say it's a 2.4x premium? As in, like, do you think people would be the vast majority of the crowd would appreciate that and understand that, or no?
Well, that's our job to tell them.
Well, that's why we're here. That's why we're here.
Oh, and tune in next week.
Yeah, a Friday Fix expose. Yeah. Oh, we should get him on. Can we get him on the?
Yeah,
I'm sure he probably inked out for.
Oh, mate.
It's all over it, isn't he? Posted.
Anything to get his name out there.
Yeah.
He turns up to the opening of a packet of crisps.
So that was good. And then yesterday, Thursday, fresh bad news out of the Eurozone.
Oh God! And again. We've had some every day.
Yeah.
Say the line. Say the line.
The line's changed to euro now, not just Germany.
So France's government basically collapsed with PM Barnier resigning. And
90
we spoke
days.
about this last week or 2 weeks ago when we were saying about the whole thing of their needing to cut down the budget in terms of reducing government spending. And so to ram that through government, they were going to do Article 49.3, which means you can't have a vote on it, blah, blah, blah. But they knew if they were going to do that, then a vote of no confidence would come and the far left and the far right would gear up and push Barnier out. And essentially, it has happened in textbook style. And so all of a sudden, you've got a situation whereby France has no working government again for the third time in 6 months. You can't call parliamentary elections for 12 months after you've had one.
So on this, obviously we did the politics show yesterday with Helen.
Yes.
So the ways round it is if a supermajority, 2/3 of the Congress, vote to change the constitution, they can to get an election through.
Yeah.
Or if Macron resigns, they have to have an election within 30 days. Sorry about the.
No, it's not coming through.
Was it not?
That's what I was checking.
Because it's real bad building site.
Really crazy.
But yeah, so what Helen suggests is that potentially Macron could say, right, I'm going to resign unless we change the constitution and try and force it through that way. But yeah, the thing is, as me and Helen were saying yesterday, it's very, very difficult to see France and Germany's political landscapes getting better before they get worse. It almost feels like they have to get worse before they get better, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Which again adds fuel to the fire for Euro parity and Euro trade.
Yeah, absolutely. It's on. And especially adding into that is that the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral is this weekend, I believe.
Saturday,
And they reckon Trump's going to be there as well. And so Trump is literally going to be rocking up to France, licking his lips.
Oh, yeah, he's not going to hold back, is he?
He's not going to hold back. And I'm sure there'll be a long lunch somewhere where, he taps Macron on the shoulder and says, look, buddy, like with Canada, do you want to come to the 52nd state of the US and we'll look after you? Yeah. I think France and Germany are in a pickle. I don't see how it gets resolved. The only thing I would say is stocks and bonds rallied, French stocks bonds rallied in the immediate aftermath of that.
Yeah.
But you can argue that's more of a profit taking on the short as opposed to any meaningful sentiment change, I would say. Not trading advice, but like the 104 parity put spread is nice. I think euro dollar's in the mid 105s on last check.
How it's still staying up here, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I know it does love a bit of a range bound, but
I guess it's been helped a little bit this week with the dollar took a little
yeah. And then the last one I want to talk about was XAI, Elon Musk AI startup, which is basically bragging that it's expanding its supercomputer power tenfold. We discussed this earlier in terms of at the minute it operates with a cluster of 100,000 connected NVIDIA chips, which is going to be expanded to a million chips.
So this is another reason why there might be some people in the industry that are a bit fruity with their accounting, but you can't say that people aren't buying chips because they blatantly are. They're buying, and they're literally buying millions of
and 10xing their orders.
Yeah, right, exactly. And when I know there's always going to be wrinkles to iron out in terms of your cooling, and perhaps some of the best place to do in this space, if you don't want to be paying the ridiculous, you don't want to be playing the ridiculous ratios and stuff, but maybe it's like the ancillary services to AI farms, or whatever they're called, server farms, like like specialists in cooling and stuff like that. Perhaps that's the play, because their orders are going to go through the roof now, surely.
Yeah.
But obviously, you need to be a lot smarter than me to work out who that means.
I know, bad data, yeah. But I suppose the other element is that given this will be partly on training Grok with the Twitter,
It needs
X,
to rename
whatever
that.
it is. Sounds a bit kind, doesn't it? It does start to build out X as a real sort of hybrid social media AI interface that can be. I mean, you can see where he's almost going with this.
Just in time to take the X ticker when Nippon buys US Steel.
You heard it first.
Oh, what a segue that is! It's almost like we rehearsed that bit, which we kind of did.
I think the only other thing to chat about was news of 30 minutes ago, which we don't usually get to cover US data. We're a bit earlier than US markets. 227,000 jobs added, unemployment upticks of 4.2%. I only saw a little short reaction. 86% pricing for a December cut, which was moving that way throughout the week. It was moving higher than the 50% pricing of last week. And I saw the S&P was up, Russell was up the most out of the four indices. Obviously, small companies benefit more from those. Yeah, small caps benefit more from the cuts.
I think, wasn't there a healthy revision upwards from last month?
56,000 was it?
Yeah.
Check the revisions.
Check the revisions.
The unemployment rate, a slight uptick above expectations. The jobs added were pretty much in line. I guess no real shock because it was trending that way. Maybe there's still a little caution on the job.
Yeah, exactly that.
And if last month's had been revised lower, we would have been very worried, right?
Oh, yeah,
You can imagine?
Yeah.
That would have been...
And the thing is like Michael Brown said this morning, we knew there was going to be revisions because obviously this is October data, which was obviously then impacted by the hurricanes and stuff. But no one had a fucking clue which way they're going to be revised, which is why I said check the revisions. And someone didn't. After I said it.
After you said it.
Yeah.
Post-back.
You ain't having that one. Yeah. Check the tape. Check the tape.
Agreed. Well, that's basically everything I wanted to go through. From the I apologize. Our first live stream from the Stafford is slightly skewed.
I'm hoping it wasn't so loud background noise as it is, because it seems like they're doing a lot of building work somewhere very close. And there's a man with a bin walking past with that's rattling around. So anyway, we apologise profusely. But guys, thank you so much for doing the show. And we will see you all from hopefully a quieter location next week. Have a good weekend. See you later.
Guys, bye.
I swear.